everyone. So before we dive into our discussion with him, I must acknowledge that my words may seem biased as I speak about him and the remarkable journey of the company under his leadership in the blockchain space. However, the reality goes beyond any praise I could give him. Avanza Innovation stand as a beacon of success where many international firms failed. Their achievement in the UAE, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia are a testament to their resilience and resourcefulness. What started as a visionary idea has transformed into a major player in the industry. While some may categorize Avanza Innovation as just a development shop, he proudly embraced this term. After all, at its core, Avanza remained true to its root as a place where innovation is cultivated and solutions are crafted. Without further ado, it's my honor to welcome once again Waqas Mirza, for the CEO of Avanza Innovation in this interview. Hello, Waqas.
Thank you very much, Walid. You're very kind with the introduction. Thank you very much.
So we're meeting today to shed the light on Fragments. What is Fragments? Let's start by you, and you give us the main guidelines of the thing.
So, like you mentioned in your introduction, Walid, Fragments comes from a place of restlessness. That is the DNA of Avanza. We are a very restless bunch. We like to invent new IPs, introduce new products. Like you've mentioned in your introduction, traditionally, we've been an enterprise blockchain company. Last year, we launched a enterprise metaverse and Web 3.0 product. And at the start of 2024, we wanted to introduce a new IP, a new product to the market. And we realized that real-world asset tokenization is something that is catching on. We believe that this is, again, something that's going to stick. It's not a fad. It has its own merits, which I'll elaborate in a minute. So what Fragments does is it's a complete one-stop shop, all-encompassing marketplace that anybody can white label and launch to fractionalize or tokenize any kind of real-world assets. So we've seen that there's a lot of traction in the real estate space. You know, a lot of real estate developers, a lot of we've seen this for quite a few years. But now this is more than real estate. Different asset classes can be tokenized and can be rolled out to retail investors globally by any marketplace. So what Fragments is that platform. You know, it's a ready platform which any asset owner can take, configure, define their own monetization models, engage their own customers, and then launch the platform. So this is basically what Fragments is. It's a platform for tokenization of real-world assets that any asset owner or operator can launch for their retail investors.
You're reminding, as I said in the intro, before the intro, you're reminding me to Cipher, the platform that you used to build many blockchain solutions earlier. Solution proved solid and growing still. So, but with Fragment, you are touching on a very sophisticated topic, tokenization of real-world assets, while regulation are not yet clear. So, what's your views on that?
So it's not as if Fragments has just come out of the lab or just come out of the oven. So we already have a few marketplaces running on Fragments in different parts of the world. So one of our collaboration is in the US. We've got a platform called RPOL, OURPOL. It stands for Our Piece of Land. Now, this is a platform that is built on Fragments and is a real estate fractionalization and tokenization play, primarily in Texas and Houston. Similarly, we've been working with another group called Convo in Europe. So they've got a lot of real estate in Portugal. Absolutely. So in Greece, in Como, in Italy. So it's got a lot of real estate around hospitality, mainly hotels, and they're tokenizing those assets and tapping into the retail investors who are also their guests. So it's a hospitality plus a tokenization play. And again, Fragments have been used to run Convo for quite some time. So we've already got implementations of Fragments going. And wherever these implementations are running, the regulation is playing along nicely, for now. So, and there are ways in which these marketplaces are finding and navigating through the regulation. So while on one hand, the regulation still has to catch up, but that is not stopping the business on ground. People are still tokenizing, retail investors are still investing. We know there are 3 platforms in UAE in itself that are tokenizing real estate assets. And then beyond real estate, we're going through some very interesting discussions in other asset classes. So, and you'll see these marketplaces coming on very soon. So we're in talks with a very large portfolio of oil and gas assets in the US. Now they want to tokenize a lot of oil wells, oil volumes, some mines as well of minerals, and they want to tokenize these. Then there are financial institutions. Right? The reserves, the oil volume as well as the asset, the well itself, because these are appreciating assets. They go through the normal demand and supply cycles. Similarly, we are in talks with some financial institutions who want to tokenize different aspects of financing. Even the lending products will be tokenized across the whole value chain. We're in talks with some of the biggest developers in Saudi who want to tokenize their communities, not just to raise capital, but also to have that sense of belonging from the community and the developer, between the community and the developer. So basically, there are a lot of asset classes that are being tokenized, and people need the technology to be able to do that. People just don't need the blockchain piece of it or the Web3 piece of it. They need an end-to-end marketplace, the wallet management, the KYC, the onboarding, the secondary market, the calibration or tweaking of monetization models. So Fragments is that platform. Through Fragments, all they need is to have their license in place, configure their assets on Fragments, and then launch these assets and engage the real estate investors. So we've tried to create a ready-made marketplace which anybody can white label and launch.
Right. We both agree that tokenization and fractional ownership might change the whole scene of investment, allowing real estate or actually retail investor to jump into real estate or any other asset and to benefit from the big cake of accredited investor. But dealing with retail investors will obviously mean going into bumpy road with compliance, KYC, AML, without mentioning the absence of a global standard. How you're planning to manage all this?
So, Waleed, in my opinion, all of these things will fall in place. Let me give you 2-3 macro strokes as to why these things are just very tiny details in the bigger scheme of things. So, my and your generation, our lifestyle was to stay put in a city, raise our family, build a house, build our life around that city. This is not how Gen Z and Gen Alpha live anymore. Right? They're digital nomads. We've heard of satellite families, which means they will not call one city their home. They will move around. They will live in communities and in areas which resonates better with them. But they'll also need passive income, right? So they will sprinkle there. They will divide their investment across the globe. They will not invest in one geography or one territory because they don't plan to stick around. But they'll also need passive income. So this is one, broad stroke of the change in lifestyle that's going to come and is already there, right? Now, the second broad stroke is the whole live, work, play culture, that people want to stay in a community where they can work, where they can hang out, where they can, play and enjoy the life as well and also live. Now, these are also communities where people are going to live, work, and play together, and they want to invest in them. So these are the broad strokes because of which fractionalization will fit in, or tokenization will fit in very nicely with these new ways of life. People would want to diversify their investments across multiple assets and not take a big exposure in one geography, in one territory, or even one asset class. Now, if you know that this is bound to happen, sooner or later, this is going to happen. In my opinion, the regulation is going to make its way around these broad strokes anyway. It's just a matter of time. We will have some stumbling blocks. We will have some roadblocks. We will have some challenges in the beginning. We'll have to work with the regulators, and we are already working with the regulators. So in our US projects, we're working very closely with the SEC over there. We're not tapping into US investors in the first go. We're tapping into non-US investors, then we'll go to accredited investors in the US, and then we'll go to non-accredited investors at least 18 months after launching the platform. This is what we'll have to do, to abide by the regulation. Similarly, we're working very closely with the European regulations. We are obviously working very closely with VARA over here, and we are helping the regulators in Saudi come up with the new regulation. So these things will take time. We understand this. This is a long play. This is not something that's going to happen in the next few months.
Yeah,
it will mature over
to be fast. They are not meant to. They are
absolutely. But what's encouraging is that this is going to fit very nicely into the new way of life. And that's what we're betting on right now, and that's what we're building towards.
You mentioned VARA, and interestingly, I missed we missed the opportunity to meet Matt last week. So we were supposed to have a conversation, but we missed it. So, but somehow he talked about he already shared that VARA is really working on the tokenization, real world asset tokenization, and they want to sit with stakeholders, see the best solution or the best regulatory guidelines for this. So how deep your communication with VARA, and when do you expect something to go out from VARA on this space?
Definitely within 2024. Hopefully by the end of the first half of this year, because we know, I mean, we're talking to two people.
I could go with this as a headline. Be careful.
No, don't quote me on this. But I know how many people are knocking on VARA's doors who want a license and who want to launch their marketplace. I'm in talk with two people who want to use Fragments to launch their marketplace in UAE. And I know that
this is the interesting part. They gave license, but somehow everything is on hold because there's no foundation of regulation.
I think we're going to see this change within 2024 because a lot of macroeconomic activity, especially around the real estate sector, is going to get catalyzed because of this. We already have a very vibrant real estate sector in UAE. I think this is going to get more catalyzed, become more vibrant, and it's just a matter of time. I think by the first half of this year we should see some action in this space.
One last question, broad question maybe. One of the wrong perception about tokenization might be, okay, let's tokenize these assets and then we will witness amazing size of liquidity into this market. So, but people tend to stress less on the importance of market makers. So do you take this into account when did you take this into account when you designed Fragments?
Yeah, so Walid,
the role of market makers into this marketplace or white label marketplace.
So if you know me, I'm a little bit old-fashioned in the way business is done, right? Yeah. So the first thing that we're very careful of when we do this for our customers when they want to launch a marketplace, we're very clear that this is not a crypto play. This is not a play where demand and supply will be hyped up. So the first thing that we are very careful about is that the token is going to be a representation of a real world asset. And the appreciation of that asset or that token is going to depend on the real world dynamics. It's not going to depend on a hyped up marketplace or an exchange demand and supply dynamics. So if it's a real world asset, the underlying asset is going to determine the appreciation. That's going to be the only appreciation lever. If it's an oil and gas asset, that's going to be the appreciation lever for that particular token. So we're trying to put these fundamentals in place. Eventually, these tokens are going to be tradable in different exchanges. But again, it will always be a reflection of the underlying asset that it's representing. Now, all of this is being done by design to reduce the volatility in these marketplaces. These are not the kind of marketplaces that can be and should be volatile as opposed to your typical cryptocurrencies, right? Because there's a business model behind it. There's a P&L behind it.
And
there are real assets behind it. So if anything at all, these marketplaces should have lesser and lesser volatility. It should have growth, it should have decent appreciation, obviously the dynamics of any economic model. But we are doing everything to eliminate volatility from these marketplaces, right? So that's where we are coming from. So that is why the market makers are going to be the real appreciation of the underlying assets. If the underlying asset appreciates, the market will appreciate or the token will appreciate. And same is going to be the case for demand and supply. Even we have a secondary market. We are going to keep some liquidity with the platform itself, but we have a very free-flowing secondary market, and that's going to determine what the appreciation of the underlying asset or the token is. Not just your primary buyers, but also your secondary buyers. I don't know if that answered your question and gave you a little bit of clarity.
Yes and no. Yes and no, because the no is, so there should be always someone deep pocket enough to be in a buying position or a selling position whenever you want, whenever there is another order from the other end. So if the holder of the token are sleeping on it and they are keeping it as store of value, then we're not talking liquidity here. We're talking about creating a digital representation of an asset that will always appreciate or not, but somehow there is no buy and sell mechanism that push the price up.
So very good point, Waleed. And that is why when we give this kind of advice to the people or the operators of the platform, we told them to keep a very nice mix of investors, not just retail investors. They have to be some accredited investors, and then there has to be a significant amount of liquidity pool that the platform itself has to maintain. And then obviously we have a growth plan that we agree with the operators as well, that you start with one region, then tap into another region, so that you keep on generating this excitement and you keep on bringing in new pool of investors every few weeks. Because if you're only relying on one set of investors, obviously it's going to make your marketplace a little bit stale. So we try to cover all these areas to create a very vibrant, continuously active, growing marketplace. But yeah, sometimes these things happen, sometimes these things don't happen. So there isn't a success recipe for everything.
So you're based in UAE and projects are gonna be distributed around. So from US, you mentioned US, and congrats for the US move, by the way. So how on the technology level? Let me go step by step on the technology level. So you're building all this based on what, and where's the IP of Avanza and all this?
So Avanza, as you understand, is incorporated in the UAE. So it's a UAE-based company. We've got development teams in different parts of the world, but it is a UAE-based company. We're a very proud Dubai-based company. So the IP is held here. Wherever we are launching our operations, obviously there's a team that gets hired. My team, I'm very proud of my team. My team takes on a lot of responsibility for setting up a region. I just go and talk. The actual work is done by my team members. So we try to manage everything from UAE, from our Dubai offices, and then launch ourselves in different regions. In terms of tech stack, we're not married to one protocol or one platform. Sometimes it's even our investors or our operators, our platform operators, who come and tell us that they think that maybe because they've had a conversation with, say, Coinbase. So they want to build something on Base. Somebody has had a conversation with somebody else where that protocol wants to invest in the platform as well. So we're completely agnostic when it comes to the blockchain part of it. We've done a lot of Polygon-based implementations. We're doing something in Base now as well, and there are some other protocols that we use. The entire tech stack on top of the blockchain layer is obviously Avanza's IP. This is our signature IP that we've put together, like we did in the case of Cipher, our enterprise blockchain platform, like we did in the case of Orion, which is our enterprise metaverse platform. Similarly, Fragments is completely built by Avanza.
Fragments is a dashboard for me as a normal user. It's a dashboard where I can write and see what is written already on the blockchain. And I agree with you. I feel like lately a lot of development have been driven by the grants. So this protocol is having a grant. So if you build on this, so is it becoming a problem for you? Let's say this, I don't know, not really well known protocol, or not distributed enough, or not secure enough, or didn't prove really a success, and but they have plenty of money, and they are distributing grants right, left, and center. So and when your client will come to you and say, okay, we got the grant of $200,000 from those guys, why don't you build on them? What's your feedback on that?
So I haven't come across a situation where somebody has imposed this kind of a decision on us. It's a mutual sort of an agreement. So we propose based on the gas fee, based on the economics, tokenomics. We tell them, hey, this is the protocol that we feel you should go ahead with, depending on the volumes, depending on a lot of other factors. And then in some cases, they do come back to us and say, hey, do you mind meeting these guys, because they're going to give us a grant or whatever. And then we directly meet with the protocol, development team, and we ask them. So it's done in a very amicable manner. I've not so far been in a situation where somebody's told us, no, you must do this, or you mustn't do that. And we've generally found that people really get along in this space. So yeah, we've not had that kind of a problem. To your earlier remark, Walid, I just want to point out something over here in terms of when you said that Fragments is just a dashboard.
No, I for me as a normal user, I insist on this word. So for me,
this is exactly how we distinguish ourselves. That for anyone to launch this kind of a business, it's a business at the end of the day, which means your front end app or your front end web application for your investor, for your developer, and the platform operator itself is one part of it. But there's a big back office. There are big operations happening in the back office. You right from the onboarding and KYC to verifications to wallet management, everything has a back office. No matter how much we automate things, there's a big back office that runs this kind of a marketplace, and Fragments enables that as well. So it's an end-to-end sort of piece of software that can automate different ends of the business for anyone to launch this kind of a marketplace and then run its front end as well as back end and middle offices. So I just wanted to highlight that, because when we've seen tokenization platforms in the market, they're very blockchain dependent. They're very dependent on the tokenization and the science of tokenization itself. And they forget that this is an end-to-end business. The front end may be a DAO, but the back end is not. The back end people still have to go and verify people. And this is a highly regulated space where, you're right under the microscopic lens of the SEC and the other regulatory authorities. So it's a very airtight business. And what we've tried to do is to automate all ends of that business through one platform.
You will never stop surprising me and impress me every day. So thank you for your time, Waqas, and
thank you,
all the best. And hopefully we will start see Fragments operating and creating an amazing marketplace in the UAE itself.
Soon, inshallah. Soon. Looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Walid. Thank you for your time. Always a pleasure.